Welcome back, Patriots. Welcome to Sons of Liberty 1773. This is indeed where men and women from around the world gather in defense of liberty. I'm your host, Bill Bailey, who will be channeling the patriotism of America's founding fathers. You know, that group of rabble-rousers at the founding of our country that faced a tyrannical empire, the greatest fighting force in the history of humanity up until that time, and they defeated them. Undernourished, undersupplied, ragtag group of men. Just got to, make a plan and work your plan. Before we get into what I want to talk about, Prigozhin, who is the leader of Wagner Group, paramilitary group, is fighting in Ukraine and then turned on Russia, thought Putin sold him out. Remember, he was taking his things, said they were heading to Moscow. And Putin made a peace with him, and I thought, Putin's going to eliminate Prigozhin. Prigozhin's days are numbered. So I think the top brass of the Wagner military group was in a plane, I think near Moscow, and Russia used a surface-to-air missile and blew him out of the sky. So that was the end of that. You don't cross Putin. I've always said I'm not a fan of Putin. He's a KGB thug. But I got to tell you, if I have to choose between who's right and wrong in this war in Ukraine, I'm going to choose Putin. We went in there and meddled with a neighboring country and put in a government unfriendly to him, threatening to put it in NATO and put missiles there, and Putin just had enough. I watched a great interview. If you want to watch Robert Kennedy and Tucker Carlson. Look up that interview and watch it. Robert Kennedy is brilliant. I will tell you that. He's into a lot of the woke stuff, and he's not a completely pro-life guy. I mean, I got a lot of problems with Kennedy, but he would be like an old Democrat from what the party used to be, and I hope he wins the primary because he wants to dismantle the deep state and end the war in Ukraine. So then what's the deep state going to do if we've got Trump on the Republican ticket and Kennedy on the Democrat ticket? Real quagmire there, right? So Prigozhin is no more. And on the war, this is something I did want to hit on. I left out of a video the other day. Just forgot to mention it. They are running out of warm bodies in Ukraine, okay? Zelensky's just a dictator. He's stalled elections, so there's a hold on elections. We're at war. We can't have an election. He's got to stay in power. They're just slaughtering. The Russians, I think Ukraine now has lost like 350 to 400,000 citizens, a lot of young men, right? Wanted nothing to do with war, and they dragged their ass to the front line, and they got killed by Russians. And I think Russia's maybe lost like 50,000. So the point is that I'm going to make is these neocons. Look at all the yard gnomes. Bannon calls them the Keebler elves that are going to be at the Republican presidential debate on Fox News. I think Wisconsin. I call them the yard gnomes. The little yard gnomes with the pointy hats. They're all warmongers. None of them. They're all deep state plants. This is. I'm trying to think of the name of this. The Delphi technique. Okay, I've mentioned this before. What is the Delphi technique? You've probably been Delphied before. And the example I give, because I use this a lot in community projects, the zoning boards. They'll get the community together in a room, and let's just say there's 100 people. And they'll go, okay, let's break this up into 10 people a table. And we want you to come up with the two best ideas off this sheet of 25 for the community, okay? And we'll take an hour, everybody work on this, okay? So, and then we'll compare and, we'll vote and we'll have the best two of the 25. So they're already being Delphied, okay, folks? And the way the Delphi works is just human psyche. You get people working together on a project and, by the end of that hour or 2 hour session, they'll think those two ideas were their ideas. But the fact is they were handed 25 ideas by the central planners. They want all 25. They don't care which 2 you pick. And so you feel like it's you that picked the 2 projects, but in fact you were Delphi'd. And that's what they're going to do. That's what they tried to do in 2016 with the primary. Remember, they had all the establishment picks up there, and they were been happy with Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, one of the, Marco Rubio, I forget who else, any of those establishment picks. They didn't care because those were their guys. But Trump showed up and screwed their plans up. And ever since then, they've been trying to destroy them, right? So that's what's going to happen in Wisconsin tonight, is they've got their establishment up there. And Trump, it was a trap for Trump, and he didn't fall for it. Number one, he's already been interviewed by Tucker, and they're going to interview it on X the minute the debate starts. So no one's going to be watching it. I'm not going to watch it. And then 2 is he's going in to get booked in Atlanta, today too, and they're going to take his mugshot. It's just disgusting what's happening, folks. It's full out communism, trying to to complete what they started in 2020. I won't be watching it. But anyways, back to Ukraine. They're running out of bodies in Ukraine, and this administration and the warmongers on the Republican side and the Democrat side, especially the Biden regime, they want this war with Russia, period. Nothing's going to stop it. So what do you think they're going to do when Zelensky says, I've got no more warm bodies to fight Russians with? Can you say draft, folks? That's what they're going to do. And I hope there's a damn revolt in this country. I'm all for going to war against an enemy that's, China is truly an enemy. And we're going to be going to war with China. They're already planning for it. And it's going to start in the South China Sea. But they're going to reinvoke the draft. And the draft boards in America are intact, folks. They just got to flip the switch on. They meet every year. There's people on the draft boards, and they're ready to go. All they got to do is flip the switch, and they're drafting warm bodies. My fear is they're going to do this before, if it looks like Trump's going to win, and it certainly does to me, they want this war so bad, they're going to make sure we're deep into this war before the election next November. So it's not so easy for Trump to just make a peace deal overnight, which I believe he can right now if he was president. We have the power of Zelensky will negotiate with Russia, and Russia will allow it. I lost my train of thought. When that Bobby Kennedy interview, Robert Kennedy with Tucker, he said Putin wants peace. That Zelensky ran and got one huge margin. And his big thing he was running on was he was going to make peace with Putin. That's how he got elected. And then the messed up hair guy from Britain, what the hell is his name? I can't think. Boris Johnson came over and screwed it up because they want this war with Russia. A nuclear nation, folks, with weapons, to be honest, that are better nuclear weapons than ours are. They have perfected hypersonic missile technology, and we have not. And they have weapons now. The Samaritan 2 or call it the Satan 2 missile. It can literally take out a state the size of Texas. They have the same warhead with the same massive megatonnage in their doomsday torpedoes that are nuclear powered, that they can launch. They can circumnavigate the world, come over off one of the East Coast and detonate and make a tidal wave, 500 feet high or something ridiculous like that. We don't have the upper hand like we once did, is what I'm saying. And what do I want in Ukraine? I mean, what's the American interest in Ukraine? And to me, I believe they started this conflict with Russia. So it'd be no different than if Russia came and meddled with the Mexican government and started threatening to put nuclear weapons and, doing similar stuff with our southern border in Mexico and fighting and coming in and shooting up our cities and killing people. I mean, we'd be at war with Mexico. So, and again, I don't like Putin, not a fan of Putin's. And be honest, he attacked first, but I think we kind of gave him a reason. Watch what's going to happen over the next year. The secretaries of state, I mentioned this the other day, are like Jocelyn Benson, these radical communists. They are going to try to claim the supremacy clause, the 10th Amendment, that this is, we've got a right to decide who can be on the ballot in each state. And it's totally unconstitutional what they're going to do, because once states can say who can be on the ballot and who can't, when you have Democrats, then Republicans will do it. Just be the end of our republic. And Dershowitz said, I will come out of retirement if they try this, because he said that we cannot allow this to stand. But we're seeing an evil like I never thought. I'm thinking about the book of Revelation, how a third will be destroyed. Right? Isn't it a third of the waters, third of the rivers, third of the people, third of the, 1/3 of the nation lives in North America. The rest is on the other side of the globe. And I always wonder whose mystery Babylon is. And I asked somebody I'm getting to know pretty good now, I said, what do you think mystery Babylon is? Without missing a beat, he said it's America. I don't know. I hope not. But I'm going to tell you, we're like Sodom and Gomorrah in this country. And we know how that worked out in the Bible for Sodom and Gomorrah. And I believe the only thing that's going to really save us now is revival, that we need to turn to God. We need to become a moral people again. Have to do it, or we're going to be doomed. And I believe God is using Trump. And Bannon brought up a good point. 3 presidents that have been tied to the life of this nation. Three presidents: George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump. They either succeed or fail, and the nation will succeed or fail with those men. And Trump is the latest one. And Bannon said there's only been 3, and it's those 3, and I agree with that. I think reading a lot of stuff on the economy, folks, and all the stuff that's happening. There's a Durban or wherever it is in South Africa, the BRICS nations are meeting. They are plotting. Biden has, created a synergetic organization of our enemies, and they are plotting to take down the dollar. India just bought a bunch of oil and rubles. They're getting away from the petrodollar, folks. This Biden is an agent of evil. You see him in Hawaii. These people have lost their family, their children. They don't even know where their remains are. They're going to have to use DNA, try to match ashes to find out. Children were just, the schools sent the kids home, and everybody burned up. They were blocking cars supposedly from leaving. Remember New Orleans, when you tried to leave New Orleans during Katrina? They turned them around and put them in the football stadium, wouldn't let them leave. Makes no sense to me, but I think, people need to be held accountable. But anyways, he's over there talking to these people that literally have lost everything. First off, well, being you've lost, your it's prime real estate in Hawaii, this city, right? You've lost your $500,000 home. That's all every penny you had and your life's investment was in. You've lost your kids, your family, your relatives. I'm going to help out and give you $700 per household. Isn't that a big FU? Then he shows up and starts talking about fires, because Biden's one of these people, he's got to make it about him, right? Instead of saying, I mourn for you, I can't imagine what it's like to, heartfelt sympathy for these people, some compassion. Well, I can remember when a fire started and I almost lost my 67 Corvette and my cat. Remember the bodies coming back, our fallen men and women from Afghanistan? that he caused. And he's like, why do I got to stand here? And he's looking at his watch. When can I get out of here? He is a creepy, evil piece of shit. Worst president this country's ever had. And he does not have America's back in the slightest bit at all. And I'm thinking, my concern is with him. And you see his beady eyes. He can barely open them. When someone calls him out on something, what were you doing on the phone with Hunter? Were you involved in this? And he'll just beat his eyes right shut, and I can't even do it. He's like the crypt keeper. He's like, remember Phantasm, the movie, the mortician or whatever? It's who he reminds me of. Creepy, evil guy. But we are in trying times, and every day is, the battle is going to get tougher and tougher because they have the judiciary, they own a lot of politicians, they have the AGs, the prosecutors, the presidency, Secretary of State, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, that fourth illegitimate branch of government that's really pulling the strings, these unelected bureaucrats that have seized power, work for the Democrats, and it doesn't matter when there's a Republican administration or a Democrat. When the Democrats are in power, they strengthen this fourth branch. If I can hold up, this fourth branch. And when they're not in power, it doesn't matter because the deep state's running the show. And the gig's up. I mean, we've got to take it down and burn it to the ground, so to speak, and build afresh. But it's going to be, look what they're doing. They're going after the Republican electors, even though it's a bullshit case. It's not going to go anywhere. They just got mugshots from Rudy Giuliani today, Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, then Trump. They're going after Matt DePerno. And some other, they're doing this in all the swing states. They're doing it with lawfare. They don't care if they win or lose. That's not the thing. They know they're going to tie them up in lawfare for a good year or so and drain them of millions of dollars. That's what they're doing. And I'm still think November 3, 2020 was a takeover, if you will, and I think it mirrors the Bolshevik Revolution where they had Operation Trust, which was, the military's in control. You heard this stuff before, folks? And not to worry, the good guys got this. QAnon, right? The Q stuff. Trust the plan, all the same stuff. Look up Operation Trust. And a good op is you put some true stuff in it, right? You put some true stuff in it and then you put in a bunch of BS. Well, that was true. The rest of it must be true. So I'm going to watch Trump on Tucker Carlson on X, I guess. I don't know where else you can watch it. Maybe you can watch it on Getter or on, maybe you can watch it on Truth on Trump's page. I'm going to watch that. I'm not watching the Yard Gnomes. I want they have the Nielsen ratings or whatever to see how many people watched. I hope it's pitiful. Although some people will tune in. Jack Posobiec said something quite brilliant. If these people love the country, these Yard Gnomes, they would announce tonight that they are all resigning from the race or withdrawing their candidacy. And they're getting behind, electing Donald Trump, and that's where they're going to spend their resources because saving America is more important than me being elected president. If they were really for America first, right? Trump's approval ratings are through the roof. I mean, I shared a community post of the Biden economy, jobs, inflation, gas prices, energy production, energy cost versus Biden, and it's not even close. Trump gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity, ended, no more wars, 18 months, not a death in Afghanistan, wiped out ISIS. I mean, he gave the military's full power, said, why aren't we winning? He says, because they never let us do what we need to do. And Trump's told the story, well, you go do what you need to do. And they took care of it. It was like, boom, done. And he would have pulled out responsibly out of Afghanistan. We would have brought home our military gear. There'd be 13 American heroes that would have came home alive, and many more not that they don't talk about, missing limbs and eyes and brain trauma and everything else. We would have kept Bagram Air Force Base, but we have a tool of the CCP running this country. And the guy, everybody's saying the Democrats know he's such a liability now, they've got to broom him before the election, and they're going to do it quick. And I'm hearing Michelle Obama, Gavin Newsom, I can't think, maybe a couple other names. And one other thing, I watched a poll, or I forget who it was. He said 20%, probably more, if they're successful, because the Republicans are complicit in this, the rhinos. If they're successful in taking Trump off the ballot, they will not vote, period. I believe that, folks, and I may be one of them people, because what's the point? When we, the people, no longer have a choice in who our candidate is, it's over. So the Republican establishment, hopefully the light bulb will go on at some point to say, if we don't have Trump on the ticket, we don't have a prayer of winning. Just a fact. I believe that. You can carve that in stone. That is a fact. Anybody but Trump is on the ticket, and we're going to lose. And that will be it. It will. They'll finish the communists will finish their takeover of the country. The Atlantic, far left Looney Tune magazine, and they always write these articles. Like, the longer they are, the more the story will be believable. They're like 20-page articles to get when they get their point across in a page or two. Anyways, they're very elite and luminary, so they, it's beyond the small man's thinking to read these articles. But they're saying, why all this voting? Why do we need to vote at all? They're talking about, at some point, it sounds like why would we have elections? We should no longer let the people choose, because they don't know. And we can put better people in power. This is what the thinking is. I think we're heading to we're just before, in American history, if you want to compare, closest comparison would be, we're just before the Civil War, early 1860s. Maybe, year and a half before the, actual fighting broke out. So my advice to you is prep big time. When you can afford to go buy an extra $100, $200 of stuff, go make a trip. Do your research, go buy the stuff that you get the most bang for your money, and do that every chance you can. Have first aid, batteries, water filtration, lots of food, 2A, ammo, guns, for self-protection. And you just cannot have enough preps. And I always tell people that don't think prepping is, what are you worried about? I hear people, what are you worried about? What are you doing? Like, you're a crazy person. I go, do you watch the news? Not the Orwellian mouthpieces, really learn the news. What's going on in the world. You would be, if you, obviously you don't, or you would be prepping. It's going to get really bad, I fear. It's going to get really bad before it ever begins to get better. And we have to save America, folks. All these patriots from the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, II, the Gulf Wars, Spanish-American War, all of them. All that blood treasure, sacrifice ourselves so we could live free. We owe it to them. I have no kids. I could just say, whatever. Renee and I will soon be dead and whatever. Just unconscionable to me that I would not. It's just not in my DNA that I feel obligated to pass on this free country to the next generations. And not only that, to honor the people that sacrificed themselves so we could live here free, independent, even though we're losing our freedoms rather quickly. I'm trying to think, I got a story I'll tell you about Tennessee. I can't think of the name of the town right now, but there was a town in Tennessee, I believe it's Tennessee. They censor this video, by the way. There's made a movie about it. Maybe I'll edit. When I edit this video, I'll put the name in the you'll see it. But anyways, they had a crooked sheriff there, and I think a crooked mayor, and they were rigging the elections, and they'd always win. And they were the police were pulling people over and saying, we're going to give you a ticket if you don't give us money. They were extorting. I mean, it was really a criminal operation, right? The mafia. So the local boys that were in the military just finished fighting World War II and defeating Hitler, Nazi Germany, and Imperial Japan, and, saving the free world. Tough people, right? Were getting word of this from their family. So when they came back, they formed their own party. And they went out door knocking, it really worked, right? And the election was held, and it looked like they were going to win. So the sheriff and the deputies showed up at the polling places and took the ballot boxes and said, we'll count these. The World War II vets broke into the armory, got the guns. They had a demolition guy. They got dynamite, and they blew the front of the jail right off the building. And they went in and they hauled them all out. And they said they got Democrats and Republicans, and they hand counted the votes. And guess what? The Veteran Party, I think it was called, or whatever they called it, won. Then they cleaned the guns up and they put everything back in the armory. And actually, there was even a young black man that was going to vote, and they shot him. These deputies did. I believe he lived. So it was really evil. But these veterans, they handled it. And they made a movie about this. I watched it, really a good movie. I think the building's still there. You can see bullet holes and stuff in it. I mean, there was a shootout, and but anyways, I think the mayor and the sheriff, they went, there was justice. And none of the veterans, I do believe, got in trouble. I don't know where that spirit is today, but we could maybe use it again, and it may come to that. I just don't know where we're heading. It depends on how many people want to protect America and preserve it for future generations, and how many want to be serfs and slaves of a totalitarian state. So that's it. I have a feeling the news that's coming over the next few months will be mind-boggling and difficult for a lot of people to handle. Hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think I am. All right? Keep prepping, keep praying. Psalms 33:12, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We need a bulk of Americans to look up, get on their knees and pray for revival. And if that happens, we're golden. If that doesn't happen, look out. All right? Make sure you're prepping, folks. I want you and your family to survive what's coming. And look, if nothing happens, you're going to have food that you bought with inflation. You're going to have food that you made, that was a good deal when you bought it. You're glad you did, and you're eating it now, and you're saving, 30% or whatever because you bought it when you did. And if something does happen, you'll be thanking God that you stocked up on stuff. All right, we're just coming up on a half hour. I got to end it. See y'all. Love you. Bye.